Hello and welcome back. Eddie Radosevich, Bob Przybylo here for the SoonerScoop.com studios. This might be one of the, we're not going to say final SoonerScoop.com reports, but it does feel like big week, big things to come, or maybe not so much for the Oklahoma basketball team. Now 18-7, 6-6 in the Big 12 Conference. And Bob, there's been some highs, obviously. There's been some lows. It's all about riding the roller coaster, it seems, especially in this conference and especially with this basketball team.
Yeah, we're a week removed from arguably the best win of the entire season, and now we're a couple of days removed from maybe the worst performance of the entire season. I know there's some mitigating factors that go into playing in Waco, injuries and whatnot, but yeah, once again, I'm sure when we talk to the players Friday, it'll be our backs are against the wall, and we know so far this season they've done a great job of responding when that's been the case, and if they can get this one, then you have a week off to feel good about yourself, get healthy, and get ready for the stretch run.
Yeah, finally the bye week for Oklahoma. It seems like they're probably one of
the last team
to have the bye week. Oklahoma State serving theirs this week with BYU ahead. Oklahoma hosting Kansas on Saturday at the Lloyd Noble Center's 3 o'clock start on ESPN. But first things first, let's back up into last weekend with Bedlam basketball. It was a game that, we had talked about right here on the report and talking about how it's just a game you couldn't lose with Oklahoma State and how bad they have been in Big 12 play. You get out of there with a 66-62 victory.
And it was not easy. It was not easy. And it wasn't
scary.
Pretty. It wasn't easy. It wasn't pretty. And when they trailed 56-52 with 5 minutes left, I was like, can they really lose to this version of OSU? Can this OU team that we've talked so great about throughout the entire year,
1-9 record, like you can't get over the hump against your rivals.
This is the one that still can't get it done, but they finished off 14-6 run. I think there was just that sigh of relief and the joy that comes with going 2-0. You get the top 10 win first against the Cougars, and then you beat your rival. And I'm not saying there's that letdown against Baylor. I don't know if they would beat Baylor if they're at full strength, but there's a little bit like we got the ones we needed. Maybe, I don't know if we've got the horses to go to Waco.
We'll have a little bit more on Rivaldo Suarez as well as John Hughley, all of everything that has happened with their injuries. One particularly down in Waco. John Hughley didn't even join the team down there at the Foster Pavilion. But Latrey Darthard, Luke Norweather, they hit some big shots down the stretch in Bedlam.
Yeah, you're seeing Latrey really start to step up. I mean, we'll talk a lot about Suarez being the most consistent player of the last month, and that's not wrong. But Darthard's not the guy from 3 weeks ago that everyone loved to dog on. He just isn't. He's made a couple really clutch shots. He's had, two games in the last couple of weeks of at least 3 threes. For a team that had struggles to make shots, to say one player has had at least 3 threes in a couple games says a lot. And that one that he had against Bedlam was 56-56. The way that it bounced in, that was the moment like you just exhaled. Like they're gonna somehow pull this one out.
Yeah, that was something that Porter Moser talked about after the game last Saturday. Here is Porter Moser after the Bedlam win.
So I thought it kept our guys believing through adversity, because there was some adversity. I mean, you can't plan. There's nothing I can do to plan that Sam Godwin would foul out from the bench. I've been doing this 33 years. I don't think I sat there before the game. If Sam fouls out from the bench, this is what I'm going to do. So it's just crazy. So, but I think the atmosphere kept our guys believing, kept our guys in there. And the emotion of the students, when I went over by the students, I felt like one of those old Gumby dolls. I was just getting pulled. I think that was cool. They were emotional. You could just feel the emotion with it when we walked down by the student section after the game. Well, I kind of finally huddled them off after when Sam got one from the bench waving his towel. I just called us together. I said, "You guys, we're going to overcome. We got to overcome adversity. Stop thinking about all that's happening." And I was having to listen to myself too, their own advice, and just say, let's just from this point, let's let the story be we're overcoming adversity, not let the story be, man, these are it's just crazy circumstances going on, and I'll say this, I should have said at the beginning, I didn't expect anything less from Oklahoma State playing their tails off, physical, high energy, played unbelievably hard, and I didn't expect anything else from Oklahoma State.
That was an underlying storyline of the game, was the technicals and the flagrant. John Hughley had the flagrant. There were 4 or 5 technicals called in the game. I've never seen a game called like that, and I think it did somewhat kind of energize the crowd a little bit.
It energized the crowd, but didn't necessarily bring out the best in the Sooners.
Sure.
Which is because there's sometimes that technical fires up the crowd and the team, the energy, they get that spark, they play at a different level. That didn't really happen there, but now we've had 2 games. The Arkansas game was nuts. In Tulsa, that was more on the Arkansas side, and now
Eric
with
Musselman.
Now with Bedlam, this is more the OU side. And what Porter would love to say, you can play with emotion, but not emotionally. And then it felt like they kind of realized we've got to get this one, and it's almost like they were pressing too much before they finally relaxed and finally were able to execute going down the stretch.
And credit to Oklahoma State. I mean, for all the technical foul shots, they knocked down a bunch of them, 21-28 from the charity stripe. That was a game as well that the free throw problem crept back up for Oklahoma. They end up missing 15 free throws on the night.
Well, what happened? They were 5.
They were 15 for 24. They missed 9 free throws.
They were 5 of 12, and so they finished 10 of 12
Sure,
going down the stretch.
sure.
And
Which every one of those was important.
Yeah, once again, that's Javion McCollum. No matter how poorly he's doing shooting from the field, because that's still an issue, still a real issue. Whenever he goes to the line, he wants the ball, he takes the contact, he puts them in, and that's how he closed the deal Saturday.
Here is, and hand up, you can blame me. I switched the videos. Here is Porter Moser talking about Latrey Darthard as well as Luke Norweather making some big shots down the stretch for Oklahoma.
Latrey made some really good plays. You know, I really feel I went and hugged Toby's 3 kids. They were sitting right there on the table, and I said, Trey's 3 that bounced up and then bounced in. I think Toby went like that, pushing it in because it was right in front of where he sits. And but I thought Latrey and Waldo continued to make some key plays. And then I just told the team, and the guys were so happy for Luke Norweather. You know, it's very hard to not play and all of a sudden to get in this atmosphere. So in 10 minutes, he had 5 points, he had 3 assists, and he drew 3 fouls. So what a good 10 minutes. And that is a great lesson of keeping your mind right, staying with it. And, man, he was and he had 2 other ones that were just in and out. I mean, I thought he was loud on defense. He didn't look scared in the moment, and that's a credit to him that to stay ready.
Jalen Moore led Oklahoma in scoring against Oklahoma State with 15, I believe. It was a good night, a good win that you were just able to get through. I think that's kind of the barometer right now in conference play. Did you win or did you lose? It doesn't matter how you got there.
We don't care how. As long as you don't go 0-2 in a week,
sure,
you're going to be just fine. As you go 2-0, you're really feeling good about yourself. But, I mean, clearly they're going to have to play better in Stillwater, as Moser will go for his first win there in 3 years. But it's good to get off the schneid. It's OSU in Texas. It's been a while since they were able to enjoy that win. And just funny enough, 66-62 is the same score when Marvin Johnson had the steal and the layup in overtime 2 years ago. We'll see if there's a different final score here in a couple weeks.
Is that like a scoregami thing? I mean, do we need to start paying attention to more over and unders here? That was a big win. It was a good crowd as well at the Lloyd Noble Center in a game that, we had talked about it on the Hoops Report here in previous weeks. They just hadn't been able to get over that hump at home.
Yeah, when they've had the really nice crowd, they've had a couple duds. I mean, they obviously, the one that stands out is Texas, but
sure,
even Texas Tech, just 4 days later, that crowd was sensational, and to lose by 1 was just disheartening. You wondered what would be the reaction when they came back. Cougars crowd wasn't all that great. Bedlam was sensational. You imagine Kansas on Saturday will be top notch, and it might be like the last stand. Like we kind of said that last week too.
Sure,
you have to keep winning to get the crowd back. I know that feels unfair for a team that's basically been in the top 25 the entire season, for a team that is, as of right now, balancing between a 5 to 7 seed somewhere in the tournament. But that's reality. You have to keep winning to get these people back.
You had the likes of Joe Lunardi going on ESPN before the game Tuesday night down in Waco talking about if they were able to get out of there with a win, which they obviously didn't, and we'll get to the game here in a second, but they were going to be bumped up to the 5 seed in bracketology, and I think that's where it's so funny to me that, you listen to people on social media or you listen to the message boards or hear what people have to say about this basketball team. It's like they've been in the top 25 for the majority of the season. This isn't a bad basketball team. They might look bad at times, but they're not a bad basketball team.
That's what's strange is if they don't have it, they don't have it.
Sure.
Like Central Florida, like Baylor, like we're about to get into. I don't know why we're getting into Baylor.
We have to, Bob.
But it's like if they don't have it on a night, pretty early and like, man. So that's uncharacteristic because we hear them. We're locked in. We know the preparation's great. We know what type of preparation they're going through every single day to get to these games. And then just sometimes they hit the floor and they just don't have it. And so it's weird. They haven't been in a lot of close games. A lot of these losses are just like, okay, you can enjoy the rest of your night. You don't have to pay attention.
At least you're getting your writing done early.
I am actually, yeah. You don't have to pay attention to the final 10 minutes of this game, but we'll see Saturday. We know Kansas struggling, 29-point loss against Texas Tech. They're going to be fired up, but it doesn't matter if you're fired up if you don't have the horses to bring it like the way the Jayhawks have done year in, year out.
Last but not least from Bedlam, here was Porter Moser talking about the crowd at the LNC.
I mean, I'd be lying to say if anything different, but absolutely. I thought the crowd had tremendous energy. They were in it the whole time. It's what you vision. You look around, it was completely filled. And to have them walking away with the win, I mean, it was. And it wasn't the prettiest ththing. It wasn't. I mean, all the different things, just how it went down. We were up 7, and all of a sudden, they get a technical 2 free throws. We foul a 3-point shooter, and then John gets a foul on a ball screen. Boom, that's 7 free throws. Just like that, all of a sudden you're going. So there was so many ebbs and flows, and the crowd just stayed high energy. So yeah, we definitely, it means a lot to them, and for us, we still have some huge home games, and they make a difference.
So that led into Tuesday night. Oklahoma headed down to Waco. They were 6-5. You had finally gotten your head back above water in the conference play, over 500. And then there's other way to say it than they laid a stinker on Tuesday night down in Waco.
They had a clunker. It was Los hits the 3, makes it 20-20. Jaden Nunn goes off, and OU has 0 answers. And we go into that night not knowing John Hughley would be missing the game because of a knee injury. So then now Luke is out there for extended minutes, and you're getting your first idea of what he might be able to do if he has to do this for any period of time here going forward down the stretch here. And it's just, so you have Hughley. Jalen Moore is battling the flu, which sounds like is over and done. That's the one thing Jalen Moore will be just fine. He's ready for Saturday. But that flu hit him hard Tuesday, and Moser has said repeatedly since, I didn't think he was going to play. I can't believe he tried to play. But he did what he could. And then, of course, the Soares ankle.
Right.
5 minutes left. You're getting blown out. 5 minutes left. He's the only guy that might be still playing hard enough to turn an ankle.
Sure.
Because he was still giving his best effort. He's just been outstanding the entire last month of play. And it was just something we're going to have to monitor. I don't think there's anything that we can know today. I don't even know if Porter will know the answer Friday.
Right.
When we get a chance to talk to him. We'll just see Saturday.
We'll have a little bit more from Porter Moser talking about the Rivaldo Soares injury here in a little bit. I do want to get into, it boils down to a team that had defended the three-point line extremely well. They were number 4 in the country. I'm sure that everybody saw the stat bug on ESPN during the broadcast Tuesday night. They weren't on Tuesday night, and Jaden Nunn was a big part of that. He goes 6 for 9, a career high 27.
Yeah, and that's both sides of the coin here are bad. It's like, one, you let someone get on the heater and you didn't know how to fix it.
Sure.
2, OU hasn't had anyone go on that type of run.
Yeah.
This entire conference season, I know we're going back a ways, but like you'd had that Mo Gibson game. Mm-hmm. He goes for 6 or 7 threes. Like, all right, he's just going to take us home. OU's had to grind everything out for all 40 minutes. Haven't had someone like a Javion McCollum hit 4 or 5 threes to make life a heck of a lot easier. And it was just confusing that they couldn't stop the zone. And it was confusing that they couldn't figure out a way to make sure Nunn didn't catch it in a spot where he could release it very quickly, because he was just not going to miss. And the team hit 11 threes after not even allowing 10 in the game the entire season.
Baylor goes 11 for 21 on the night. Simply put, Baylor was really good. Oklahoma was not. They were actually the opposite here as Porter Moser following the loss on Tuesday night.
Yeah, we recruited him too, and I love the kid. I think he's tough. I think he's just been playing with a lot of confidence, and he had a great night tonight. You could just see, and all of that. I think their whole starting 5. I mean, the most simplistic answer I can give everybody is I thought they were phenomenal and we weren't. That's a simplistic answer, but I thought their first 5, like every one of them had had really good games. They really got loose from the three-point line. There was an offense rebound kick out to none, I think, for a three. Right in front of me, there was a bad switch, and they hit a three. And then I think they got three on a transition three. I think they really started getting some barrages from three, and then they got separation. I think it was that series. I got to look back, but I distinctly remember in that stretch there was a bad switch in front of me. There was an offensive rebound kick out to none, and I think they got one in transition.
Defensive breakdowns. Seems like there was a lot of them for a team who's played very well defensively.
That's what Tuesday was just such an anomaly between the terrible passing and the defensive breakdowns. It's whatever reason they weren't with it, and I don't feel like a disturbing trend. But the only positive trend is the fact that usually just bounce back. They have been able to take a stinker and not let it affect them the rest of the way.
You got to flush it, man. And it's so important to do that in this conference. One of the biggest things that bugged me about Tuesday night, the 79-62 loss down in Waco, was they had no answer for a zone that Baylor under Scott Drew has become kind of infamous for, right?
Exactly. It's not, oh my goodness, they just busted out a zone.
Right.
It was just the passing was not crisp. Something Moser did mention is that with John Hughley being out.
Yes.
He's a very good passer.
Especially in the middle at the high.
Yes.
Right.
That would have really helped. Wouldn't have helped to a 17-point deficit.
Right.
But it would have made it more competitive. But they did look a little lost for something that everyone sort of knew was coming.
And I think that it goes on top of everything that has kind of been the theme of the last couple of weeks is Oklahoma just can't buy a bucket. They can't. They don't have very many guys that can knock down shots, and that is a problem.
It really is. I mean, we said it before that we thought one of the bigger issues with this team would be they can get scoring, they don't have shooting.
Right.
And it's turned out to be that way. I mean, if someone makes 2 threes in a game, you're feeling really good. Like if Javion McCollum can make 2 threes in a game again, you're feeling really confident about where this thing is going. It's just been very tough sledding for him, for Ortega. His shot doesn't look nearly as fluid with the confidence that he had in the first 2 months of the season. And you just got to see what can they do to try to regroup and get ready for what's about to come.
Oklahoma finishes 7 for 21 from behind the arc on Tuesday night in Waco in the 17-point loss. The 12 turnovers, I thought that was probably Los Uzon's worst game with the basketball in his hands. Just some careless stuff.
Careless stuff. You had 7 at halftime, and that's basically when it mattered.
Right.
You had 7, and Baylor took advantage. 13 off 7 turnovers. That's efficiency. That's making those turnovers really hurt the other squad.
And particularly when you remember, like as you said, it's a 2020 game, and all of a sudden you're kind of looking up and you're going, how the hell are they still in this?
It's 2020.
And then the bottom fell out.
40-27 at halftime. And then Baylor, scored the first 5.
Right.
And so it's like, oh, all right, go and enjoy the rest of your night, people.
Yeah.
They are not fighting to come back.
It was the zone defensively that gave Oklahoma fits on Tuesday night. Here is Porter Moser kind of diagnosing everything that he saw.
Well, I think, we hadn't been shooting the ball well. We knew they were going to go zone. I don't know if we knew they were going to go zone the whole game, but they have a long zone. They play it well. They're really long. And, I think Hughley was one of our best guys in the zone. He's a really good passer. We just couldn't get it into the soft spot. It's a credit to them. We couldn't get it where we needed in the zone. And you really got to shoot the ball well. We didn't. But credit them. It's a long zone. They played a lot of it, and they play it hard. I think that's the key to a zone too. Is if you're going to communicate and play hard. I thought they communicated and played really hard in the zone as well. That's what stands out. I mean, obviously the length in the zone, but I mean they were talking. They did a phenomenal job. But we anticipated them playing zone. I just don't know the extent of it.
I don't know how much you'll see on Saturday against Kansas as far as the zone goes, but I think that the book is kind of out on Oklahoma. You box them in, you make them hit some shots, and it's going to be a little bit different when you return home. It seems like you have guys that shoot the ball a little bit better, but it might not all matter if we don't talk about the next kind of talking point, and it's going to be the biggest talking point going into the game on Saturday is the health status of Rivaldo Suarez as well as John Hughley. I was completely surprised about the Hughley stuff. That was something that was kind of it was very much a surprise when he disclosed that information to Toby Rowland on the Oklahoma broadcast before the Baylor game. So then you go in and you go, okay, it's going to be tough, but maybe you can get through this. Now you look at it, as bad as the loss in Waco hurt on Tuesday night, I think the loss or the expected maybe loss of Rivaldo Suarez, who I assume is day-to-day, would probably be the term used right now. If you watched it and the way that he went down and getting carried off the floor, I think it's going to be tough for him to play on Saturday.
I would agree with that, and they just need a miracle to try to make this happen. And he deserves it. He's earned the way that he has played. You can tell,
Sure.
like someone that's realizing these are the final games that I'm ever going to play as a college basketball player, and I've never reached the NCAA tournament. I'm doing everything I can in my power to try to make that happen. And the way, the last month, there's no question
He's been excellent.
the most consistent player. There's some people just wondering, like, why is he not in the starting lineup? I almost was like, they just don't want to mess with what they've been doing. And what we've talked about before, he's not in the starting five. He's in the final five. He's usually that guy that's in during the final 5 minutes when it matters most. And you just hope that it's good because he's proven to be everything that you've needed him to be. We always go back to that. When you get guys from the portal, it's like, well, if this guy can be at this level, we're going to be okay. And some guys go above, a lot of guys go below. Suarez has been absolutely as advertised as what Moser needed him to be.
A game-high 17 despite the injury with about 5 minutes left in the game. Here was the immediate reaction from Porter Moser on Rivaldo Suarez, as well as injuries that are starting to pile up for Oklahoma.
Although, yeah, he's got the ice on it. Like they iced it right away, so we haven't seen anything. But he's a tough kid, and he's not put any weight on it now. So we lost Hughley, so we gotta find answers, and no one's gonna feel sorry for anybody with injuries this late, and but I feel bad for Rivaldo. He's been playing great. He's been an energy guy for us. We'll evaluate him. We'll see how much that thing swells up.
So the stage is set. Oklahoma, Kansas coming up on Saturday, 3 o'clock at the Lloyd Noble Center. Obviously, Kansas is stumbling into this one. They have not been good on the road at the 1-5 record, as you mentioned earlier. The 29-point loss on Monday night to Texas Tech out in Lubbock. And, for them, there's a bunch of injury. Well, not a bunch, but there's a big massive injury. And Kevin McCullough, who's missed the last 2 games, missed the Baylor game last week and missed the Tech game on Saturday. And it sounds like it's a knee injury, something that has probably been nagging him. My dad mentioned that it was something that they mentioned on the broadcast up in Lawrence, that he was battling through a little bit of a knee injury. So I think needless to say, if Oklahoma wants to have their best foot forward and their best opportunity to win, you don't want to probably see Kevin McCullough on Saturday afternoon.
You want Waldo in and Kevin out, and he destroyed OU in the second half. It's KJ Adams.
First half, 15-7, I think, for KJ Adams in the first half.
And then he disappeared, and McCullough came in and just did everything that KJ did in the first half to a different extent with the way he played in the second half. And Kansas is just not deep. We knew it in January. It's proven to be correct the entire conference season. That's why they've been struggling so much. If you can get them into foul trouble or something like that, or if they're still battling those injuries, they don't have the horses like they usually do.
And a much different Johnny Furphy on the road than you get at home at Lawrence, where obviously for a freshman, a more comfortable setting, and something to come out of Monday night that I don't think that you're going to see on Saturday. KJ Adams, Hunter Dickinson, they were awful from the field. I think they combined to go like 3 for 22 in Lubbock. And a bunch of those shots, out of all of the shots, I bet more than half of them, probably 75 to 80% of them, right around where you would expect Hunter Dickinson and KJ Adams to get a bunch of their work, right around the basket. They missed a bunch of bunnies. And it's going to be imperative that Oklahoma gets some type of inside presence, you would imagine. This leads into a stretch for Oklahoma, as they talked about on the broadcast on Tuesday night. The schedule from here on out. I mean, you can start wondering if this team's going to make the NCAA tournament. I think that they're in right now, but these next 6 games, you certainly don't want to go 1-5.
You don't want to go 1-5. You got chances, especially with multiple games being at home. Bedlam will be another swing game, and you hope that having the week off going into it is going to help a lot of those guys get some fresh legs. They're just waiting for that moment when they can kind of chill. That'll be one of my questions for Porter post game Saturday. How's he going to handle that week off? How many days off are you going to give those guys, and how are you going to balance that? Because this team needs it. They absolutely do. 2-4. You're happy. 3-3, you're sitting pretty, and you're like, hey, we don't have to worry about
You take that right
anything.
now, and you stop asking questions
you
about what it is.
You don't even care what 3 it is.
Right.
If you have 3 and you have 21, and you're 21-10 going in Kansas City, you are a 5 or 6 seed, and you're going to be just fine.
You'd certainly like them to be those home games, though, against Kansas and Houston. Here is Porter Moser after the game on Tuesday night talking about the tough road ahead.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I know ESPN put it out there. The final 7 games, we have the hardest schedule in the country, and but no one's going to feel sorry for us. With that's opportunity. We had an opportunity tonight. We didn't cash it in. They took it, and we got another one. The bottom line is in this league, especially with every single one of these games, you got to regroup after a loss. We had a tough loss, and didn't play well, and we got to. And I give them a credit why we didn't play well. I mean, I thought they were phenomenal. I thought they were outstanding, and so obviously, yeah, Kansas coming to town, it's an opportunity for us. I mean, both of us struggled on the road this past 2 days, and we both got to bounce back. I mean, I hope they don't bounce back, but we got to bounce back.
Oklahoma now 6-6 in conference play. There, you look at the Big 12 standings, and you probably better not look at it for too long because it's going to change here over the course of the next 6 weeks. But it's all out there, like as Porter said. As tough as the schedule is, there is a lot of opportunity there. But let's be honest, you don't expect them to go to Hilton and win. You don't expect them to beat Houston. It's going to be really, really tough on Saturday against Kansas. You have a big question mark in Stillwater where it seems like they haven't won or had any type of success, just flat out success within a game in a long, long time. They got their work cut out for them.
There's no doubt about it. And this is where, for the final time, they have to show again that they're different than the first 2 years under Porter. This is their final test. They've done it time and time again. Non-conference slate, winning some good conference games, getting some top 10 net ranking wins. Now you've got the final stage. Finish strong or strong enough to where you're solidly in the tournament and don't have to worry come Selection Sunday.
There it is. That is your Hoops Report. Make sure you're tapping on the subscribe button if you have not already to SoonerScoop.com's YouTube page. We appreciate everybody here. Bob and I will be back next week for another Hoops Report. We'll stop in for a little bit of football talk and might even have to get into a little bit of softball. Patty and the OU women already off to a 4-0 start, headed down to Louisiana this week, taking part in the Cowgirl Challenge at McNeese State. Oklahoma baseball opening up their season, the regular season portion of everything down in Arlington. I'll be down there on Friday. So until next time, for Bob, I'm Eddie. We'll see you right back here on the SoonerScoop.com Hoops Report on SoonerScoop.com's YouTube page.